Welcome back to the West Ham Network for your West Ham Daily, but it is actually your match day preview, your big Premier League preview, as two bitter rivals will lock horns at the London Stadium in the Premier League on Wednesday night. Yes, Wednesday evening, as West Ham welcome Tottenham to the London Stadium. West Ham enter the contest on the back of a 1-0 victory over Aston Villa on Sunday, a much needed win for West Ham to get also off the mark by getting a win with 3 points, but also scoring our first Premier League goal of the season, as Tottenham also continue their strong start to the campaign with a 2-0 win over Nottingham Forest on the same day and the same weekend. Now, without further ado, let's talk the opposition. Let's talk Spurs. Now, Tottenham have made an impressive start to the campaign this season, picking up 10 points from their 4 games, which has left them in third spot in the table. Now, they opened their season with a 4-1 victory at home to Southampton, before picking up a welcoming point to Chelsea 1 week later, with Harry Kane bang on form, scoring a last gasp equaliser for Tottenham as well. And Conte's side then recorded a 1-0 victory over Wolves back in August the 20th, before running out 2-0 winners against Nottingham Forest on Sunday afternoon. Now, Kane missed a penalty against the newly promoted side, but he still went ahead and scored twice. And we all know what he is capable of doing, because he does love to score against West Ham, of course. Now, they are going to take on West Ham and Fulham in back-to-back London derbies before starting their Champions League campaign at home to Marseille on September the 7th. Spurs did finish 4th in the Premier League last season, but are being tipped to challenge potentially even higher up the division this term, because Conte has been a very busy man in the transfer window, adding some much needed quality to their side. Obviously, they've got players like Son that are still there. They've now officially, as of today, signed Romero on a long-term contract, making the loan deal a permanent deal. Of course, they've got Harry Kane. They brought in Richarlison from Everton and Sessegnon, as well as Bissouma from Brighton. So they do have some much needed strength in depth. Now, if we're looking at a little bit of team news coming out of Tottenham, they have Christian Romero and Oliver Skipp are both back in training ahead of the game, and the former Skipp potentially returning to the back three. Lucas Moura and Brian Gill remain unavailable for selection through injury, but they are pretty much in strong shape. Richarlison is pushing for a starting role. He has been slated a little bit for showboating very early on in the game against Nottingham Forest. Son, Kane, and Dejan Kulusevski should again play as a front three against West Ham. And we just need to be prepared for this attacking mindset that Tottenham have got. And as long as we can shut up shop, then we have to have the confidence in what we can do as well. So leave your comments in the comment section regarding all things Tottenham and how you think they will line up against West Ham. But without further ado, I think it's time for us to talk about our beloved West Ham. Now, as we know, we lost all of our opening 3 matches of the current campaign without scoring a single goal, which left us bottom of the table and brought a little bit of early pressure to David Moyes and West Ham. And we've not been used to that bit of pressure over the last couple of seasons in particular. However, we did bounce back against Aston Villa on Sunday, recording a 1-0 win over them and putting a bit more pressure onto the Steven Gerrard situation as well. And we have been busy in the early stages of this season because we have been involved in the Europa Conference League playoffs, beating Viborg 3-1 at home and 3-0 away from home to advance to the group stages of the competition, which begins on September the 8th, which I can't believe is coming up so soon. Now, we do have a tough run of fixtures ahead, facing Chelsea, Newcastle United on the next two after this game coming up this weekend, and it'll be fascinating to see how we cope with that heading into the international break, which is coming up. Now, we did record a 1-0 victory in the corresponding match between the two sides last season, but we suffered a 3-1 defeat in our last game with Tottenham last season. We do have some new players in the ranks. Of course, yesterday we signed our now new record signing, Lucas Paqueta, the Brazilian international, as he joins West Ham. Will we see him? Will he get his work permit in time to be registered for the game against Spurs tomorrow evening? Time will tell. But leave your comments in the comment section as we move through the rest of the preview today. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to start putting your team predictions in. Name your starting 11 as I go through the starting 11. But before I do that, I'll do a little bit of tactical analysis as well. So in the chat, put your starting 11 in there just now. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of tactical analysis, but to give you a bit more team news coming out of West Ham, of course, Ben Johnson limped off. He felt his hamstring, and I think there's a bit of concern about what is actually going to be in the longevity of this injury. We're also hearing that Aaron Creswell has picked up a knock and is going to be a doubt for this game. And we do know that Ogbonna is back and ready to rock and roll. He is fit. Vladimir Sefal is also fit and ready to rock and roll. And of course, we saw the debut of Emerson Palmieri there as well. And it's going to be a big decision who's going to get the nod up top. Scamacca and Antonio both played really quite well, actually, against Aston Villa. And will Lucas Paqueta be involved somehow? But leave your comments in the comments section there. Now I'm going to do some tactical analysis for you. Right, let me see if I can get this actually up and running for you perfectly. It's just to kind of go through a couple of the things that I noticed particularly in the game against Aston Villa. So room for improvement and areas that I saw and seen the benefit of what West Ham were trying to achieve. So here we are. You can actually see in the first half, because we were playing the three players in the back line and we committed Ben Johnson to going forward, what you can actually see here is Creswell, Zuma and Carrere. And what the Aston Villa were doing was actually exploiting our big gaps here, the pockets, and they were putting the balls through to the pockets. And because we were committing bodies forward, we were getting caught out a little bit down this this right hand side. That doesn't mean it didn't necessarily work. We were more than capable of dealing with what was happening down there, because Carrere's got a lot of pace to catch back. And Zuma and Creswell, obviously, you can see here the ball had been played. Ings had made the run, so he'd already broken the offside trap. So if they had got the ball in enough time and had the clever ability to get the ball across, then we would have been in deep trouble, and that would have caused us some concern. So that's something definitely to watch out for moving forward. You can also see here that the one slight concern I've got is when Aston Villa are making an attack, you can actually see here they've got the ball out on the left-hand side, but look at Coutinho. Is completely unmarked. Now, who is that? Who's got to be closer to him? For me, personally, you've got the two players here, Declan Rice and Pablo Fornals, that should be pushing in this area a little bit more. Now, I think Declan Rice is sitting a bit too deep, because you can see here, you've got Creswell and Zuma covering Ollie Watkins. So I think Rice can afford to be stepping further forward. If he is stepping further forward and Pablo Fornals is coming out further forward, then this eradicates this next move, because the ball comes forward here. You can see Pablo slowly making his way over, but the ball feeds its way through to Coutinho, and Pablo Fornals and Declan Rice are still off, too far off. Danny Ings makes the early run, and Coutinho is clever enough to play that ball through the gap, and Danny Ings runs onto it. Fortunately for West Ham, we didn't get anything from it. However, what did come from this was the corner that led to the goal that was disallowed. So for me, Declan Rice, and we do know in the first half in particular, he was struggling, but he just needs to be a bit more tighter to the midfielders, especially the creative players. Him and Fornals need to be a bit tighter, because in theory, Fornals is in no man's land here. and that's something that we need to absolutely work on. However, you can also see again, Coutinho, Rice was a little bit closer, but Coutinho had the ball. And the problem we had here was because we committed Ben Johnson a bit further forward. Carrere and Zuma, they do like to be a little bit further up the field. Ings clocked onto it. He went behind the defender. Coutinho's playing the ball over the top. And the aim is the ball will drop here to get to Danny Ings. Fortunately, Carrere is pacey enough and fast enough to get back and deal with any of the threat going forward. Now, the last defensive issue I had here was just sometimes I feel like we lack that little bit of discipline and consistency when, and sometimes I feel like maybe we kind of sometimes ball watch as well. And this is just a break of play for Aston Villa. And you can see here the ball's breaking out to the left-hand side. And Sefal's mindset and Jared Bowen's mindset is not really thinking of the whole round game here. And just a lack of concentration. And this did lead to an opportunity where the ball came in, the ball got crossed in, it took a little deflection, and the player here for Aston Villa shot, but it did go over. But I feel like we just have to have that little bit of extra concentration on us. Now, another part to look at and a positive is when West Ham attack, when Scamacca's starting. So what you can see here, the ball gets played forward all the way up to Scamacca, who drops deep. Now you can see our player here, Jared Bowen's making the run. But what's beneficial is after Scamacca plays the ball back, it finds its way to Declan Rice. Declan Rice gets the ball. Scamacca's gone. He has made the run. He is pushing forward. And now Pablo Fornals is starting to break these lines. And this is the difference between what potentially having a player like Scamacca on the field offers to West Ham, because he does have the ability to drop deep but quickly turn and pace and push forward and bosh forward as far and fast as he possibly can. And that does create, Fornals, you can see here on the front foot, making the forward run, giving West Ham further options. Again, another thing here you can see is, and this is the same form of play, he comes forward, he collects the ball, and it gives West Ham options. So that is started and borderline nearly finished from Scamacca. And look at the distance he's ran from the halfway line all the way to the edge of the 18-yard box. What a quality player we've got, and adding other quality in and around that will only but benefit him. Now, this is the opportunity that Pablo Fornals, because the ball bounces up, Pablo Fornals hits that on the volley. Now, what I think Pablo Fornals should have been doing here is being a bit more forward thinking and being a bit more further up the field, because he may have had time to potentially chest the ball down and play in another player. But that is just going to take a bit of time to get used to each other as well. Now, this is West Ham on the attack. As you can see, really cool here. Good positioning. You've got, it looks like Fornals is on the ball out on the wide left, or Creswell. I can't remember who that is, but you've got Scamacca here. This is a player I want you to focus on, because Scamacca's on his front foot. He looks like he's about to make the run, but he adjusts and pivots and stops and creates an option. And that's what I love to see. You can see here, I'm going to go back. He's running forward. The defender's done. He sold the defender. Now he's created the gap, and he's going to collect the ball for the next bit of play. As you can see, the defender steps out, but what's clever about Scamacca is he plays a one little bit of touch, and the ball falls its way into Tommy Soucek. And look at Scamacca. He skipped round the defender. He's running forward, and he is screaming for the ball. He does get the ball, and it's the one that takes a deflection and falls its way into a keeper. But this is what excites me about Scamacca when West Ham are going forward. Look at that there. On the front foot, the defender's just, quite lackadaisical in his approach to following the striker. Bang, Scamacca changes his vision, changes his positioning, drops in a little bit deep, makes the player commit, receives the ball from out wide, plays a one touch with Scamacca. The player's committed, drops around the player, drives forward, is screaming for the ball from Soucek. We've broke the three players here, plays the ball into Scamacca, who has a shot, and unfortunately it is deflected. And that shows you the difference between having players like Scamacca, forward-thinking, natural-born instincts of a striker, and how that can really benefit West Ham. Now, before we move on to the team selection, which you are putting in the chat just now, I just want to focus on maybe an area or a player who can have a bit of room for improvement. So a player, it's not like digging out individual players, but it's just to draw on a particular player and think what's gone wrong and where he can benefit from. So the player I want to focus on today is Jared Bowen. He's had 4 appearances in the Premier League so far. And as you can see here from his heat map, he is doing his typical right-hand side. He's not getting his back as much as he used to, but you can see here he's had 6 shots in 4 games and he's not had one on target at all. Now I think that is actually wrong with hitting the woodwork. I don't think he has hit the woodwork at all. So that is a little tiny mistake there. He's made 7 tackles. He's had 4 block shots. He's had 3 interceptions, 2 clearances, and 1 headed clearance. Another issue you've got here though is shots per game. 12 shots, passing accuracy is 4. Cross accuracy is 0%. He's not actually made a good cross yet for the game, and his long ball accuracy is 67%. He has no assists yet, and he's making about 19 passes per game. And I think what we're actually seeing is a player that's maybe struggling for a little bit of confidence, but it's maybe going to take a bit of time. And I think it's going to take a couple of goals and a tough consistency in the game and familiar with all the other players around him for him to naturally progress and become the player that we know he is absolutely more than capable of doing. So now I'm going to go into my predicted starting 11 for the Spurs game. Now, this is going to make for interesting reading because we've got players that are fully fit, ready to go, new players that can come in and step into the equation. But I think he's going to stick with Fabianski in goal because he seems to be, he's not made a mistake yet. He's committing to that and fair play. Now, Zuma had one of his best games in a West Ham shirt against Aston Villa. Back to the Zuma that we're looking for. Still a little bit concerned that he's a bit sluggish, but he is the main man at the back, so he slots in. However, he doesn't slot in centrally, in my opinion, because I think West Ham's going to go for a little bit of a change here. So I think he's going to move to the left-hand side of the central defence, and Kira is going to move to the right-hand side of the central defence, who I think has been a fantastic player for West Ham so far, to let this man make his Premier League debut this season, not debut for West Ham. I think Ogbonna will come back into the equation. Dawson's not ready to go. Aguerd's obviously injured, and Ogbonna, I think, has played a bit of game time and is ready to rock and roll. So I think he will shore up that defence and control a mixture of Zuma and Kira against an attacking threat that is Tottenham and what they're capable of doing. The one benefit you've got here is that Kira has the pace to help the other 2 defenders. That will really help him. Now, we do know that we think Creswell will take a knock and he won't be available. This is why I think we'll see the second coming of Emerson Palmieri. I think he'll go into that left wing back slot there and attack that team and make it his own. And he's obviously got the left-footed central defender of Zuma in behind him. Now, out on the right, I've been worried about his pace as of late, but I think Vladimir Sufal will go into the right wing back slot. I think he'll be more than capable because he'll have the pace there. So it'll be interesting to see how him and Kira make a very good partnership or so. Declan Rice again deputizes in the middle of the park as the West Ham captain alongside his good friend, and people might get frustrated by it, Tommy Soucek, who I thought had a very good performance against Aston Villa as well. And then next is going to be and maybe it's controversial because it means that one or the other has to sit out of the team. But I think Fornals played himself back into the team. Again, I don't think he just sits behind. I think he sits to the left of the forward line. And out on the right, of course, typically is Jared Bowen. And leading the line for West Ham will be Skamaka. I think absolutely. And I think he is going to cause Tottenham defences a little bit of problems here. But what this team for me offers is opportunities to progress. It's a progressive team. If Paqueta can get the deal done, I think he'll be on the bench, and I think we might see him. He's had a preseason under his belt. He's been playing for Lyon already this season, so I think we may see him come off the bench. We've got Cornet coming off the bench. We have got options. We've got Ben Rama, who's been questionably our best player this season as well. So there are options there. And it's now down to David Moyes to be able to manage those options. So what do you think from my predictions of my starting 11 against Spurs? Leave your comments in the comment section as well as I ask for your score predictions for the game against Spurs. Now, I'm going to be a confident West Ham fan. You know, I've watched this enough to know that I'm extremely a confident West Ham fan, but I'm going to remain confident. We're at home. We've come off of 2 victories on a trot, 2 clean sheets on a trot, and I think we're going to shore up that attacking threat. Now, I think we'll concede Absolutely do think we concede, but I think we've got the potential to have a high scoring game here. So I'm going to go for a 3-2 West Ham home victory against Tottenham. I'm just going to remain positive. I think we will see a bit of Paqueta at some point. I think we'll see Skamaka. I think we'll see Antonio come off the bench. We'll see Benrahma come off the bench. We need to remember there are 5 substitutions that are available as well. So it's going to make for an exciting game. So make sure you do join us tomorrow evening for the Match Day Live as we bring all of the commentary to you as well. I hope you have enjoyed our Premier League preview today. I hope you have. Please leave any comments in the comment section. Please hit the thumbs up as well. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, please click that membership option. It says join. That's what you need to do. You just click the join button. If you are new around here, please subscribe. Hit the bell notification. That will notify you when our shows do go live. And as normal, we like to say thank you very much to all the members of the channel. Before I go, keep supporting West Ham. Come on, you Irons.
It's like a family tree, all of you and